Welcome to Yeshiva Daf, Shir sponsor of Nishmas and Yakashon Nabasitzchuk. We're holding Metzia Daf from base. We're starting the Mishnah Daf from base in the bottom. Says the Mishnah, Kamo te'e aselo chaseiro v'lo yebo oino. How much can a seller be chaser? What does it mean a seller being chaser? So Rashi goes on and explains that when you use a coin which is being used in circulation, is always being rubbed and is losing some of its values and some of its width. How much does it lose and it still be considered to be that there's no over here? It's fine to use this coin. Says the it's 4 Isser per dinar, 4 Isser per seller. How many dinarim are in a seller? 4. So if I do 4 Isser per seller, I'm doing 1 Isser per dinar. And how much is that? It's as Rashi says, let me see Rashi inside. Isser a dinar, hu echad michavdal boy. It's 124. The vov meyo kesef dinar. Vov 6 meyo is 1 dinar. Meyo shnei pudinim and pudinim shnei isurim. So 6 meyo is 1 dinar. Each meyo is 2 pudinim, means you have 12 pudinim in a dinar. And how many and then how many isurim you have? 2 per pudyon, which means 24. So you say 1 out of 24 is a no. Rashi points out right away. The Gemara is going to ask, we learned before a shtos, a 6. Why now you're saying 1 out of 24? So that will be the question of the Gemara. Says more, as we just mentioned, pudyon is 1 out of 12 of the dinner. So the first one, the Rameir says 1 out of 24. The Rebbe says 1 out of 12. It's 8 pudyonyos per in a seller. 2 pudyonyos per dinner, 2 pudyonyos per dinner, which means we're talking about 1 out of 6, which that's the one we know, the shtos. Because it'll be 1 out of 6. So it continues the Mishnah, when Daf Reis and Daf Tab, and Matai Mutar Lahachzir, until when can you come and say, 1 second, this coin lost its value, I want to switch it. The Krochim in the cities where they have a shulchan, where they have their banker, Akadeshi or the shulchan, please show us the shulchan. The Kfarim in the villages at Arvi Shabbosos until once a week and they have Shabbos, and wasn't going to explain why. So if he recognizes it, he accepts it for him even after 12 months. So what was it explain? You just said until I have Shabbos. Why are you saying that 12 months? He doesn't have any complaints. Who doesn't have any complaints? The sentence doesn't add up. The Gemara is going to explain it. You can use this coin to redeem Ma'aser Sheni. Why? Someone does not use this coin as a nefesh ro. It's a bad nefesh. Because really you should not be makbid so much of these coins, and we'll see that in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, meaning, we'll ask the question. How much is a seller will be chaser to be our case? So what's the difference between the Bryce and the Mishnah? In our Mishnah it says, how much is a chaser will not be a no? And in the Bryce says, how much will be chaser and it will be a no? So what is it? And as Rashi points out, we don't have the full Bryce over here. The Bryce says equal to the Mishnah. So as Rashi says, Alma, behani shuri have a no. Mashma, these shurim are a no. Is this shurim good or bad? So says the Gemara, depends where you're counting from. The Mishnah is counting milmato lamalo, which means that the seller, as the seller is losing value, till when it's still fine. It's still fine until you reach this amount, once you reach this amount, it is a no. And the Bryce is talking about once you reach this amount, there's a no. So that's what he's saying. Is going from less of a loss to more of a loss. And it goes the opposite. It goes from bigger loss to small loss. And that's what it is. As Dave points out, really one could have said easier. One could have just said, the second price just tells you where is the loss, the problem. And the Mishnah just gives you what happens until then. But the one just uses this lashon, and as clear as comes out from the Rishonim, the Mishnah is talking about what will be a loss that comes until this year. And the Brisa speaks about this year and above is a loss. Says the Gemara, now we go back to the question mentioned in the Mishnah. In our Mishnah, we see that Selah, you have different 3 shirim. One out of 24, one out of 12, one out of 6. We talk about the talis, we said 1 out of 6 according to everybody. The Gemara understands. What's the difference? Says the Gemara, Reb Shimoni. No, it is machlekes. And what we mentioned till now, that's the sheet of Reb Shimon that holds that talis is he holds also by money should be a shtos. By clothing, a person is more agreeing to be moichel. People say, Oshik means expense a lot to put something up over your back. For your clothing, you should expense more. And for your food, don't overpay. Pay what you need to pay. So meaning for clothing, people are willing to overpay. So that's why everybody agrees that there it's a shtus. So the Gemara, Sela, we talk about money. For clothing, people are willing to be moichel. With money, if you can't use the money, it's not as easy to use the money, we'll see in a moment. So people are not moichel. So the Gemara, Gufo, how much a seller is losing, you have to know. We mentioned Mishnah, 1 out of 24. Pidyon Dal Pidyonis, Pidyon the dinar, 1 out of 12. Shula Mishwel Pidyon, Shni Pidyon is the dinar, 1 out of 6. Yet Ken Moichel Bishovia. More than that, you sell it, and you use the seller for the amount that it's worth, not for a full seller. So up to these amounts, you can still use the full seller. That's how the Pshat of Rashi, that's how he's explained to Rashi. So until this amount, you can use the seller the way it's worth, even though it lost a little bit of a value, it's still fine. More than that, you give it a lower value. But still, is there a certain, the Mishnah goes on and says, you lose up to shtus, you use it as a seller. You lose more than a shtus, you have to lower the value. But then there's a certain amount, the one you get to that level, you what? You can't use it at all. What is that? So says the Gemara, B'sela ad shekel. B'sela until it reaches half its value. Every seller is 2 shekalim. So you're allowed to use the seller until you reach the shekel, which is half. The dinar, when you get the dinar, is ad roiva. So one understands now that a roiva means a quarter. Pachos mikan, Eisor, if it's less than here, even Eisor, so then also you're not allowed to come and use it. I raise it, what does it mean you can't use it? I raise it, you can't sell it, can't sell it to a merchant, can't sell it to a chorim or harag, which is the people that are either thieves or people that are killers. They go and they cheat with others. If you're going to give them this coin, they're going to go and use it to cheat with others. So what do you do with these coins that will lower too much? Make a hole in it. He puts it on the neck of his son or his daughter. You lower it until you get to a shell, you can use it until it loses the value of 50%. You spoke about a dinar, is up to a quarter. Which is 50%. You can lose 75%. It's not a roiva of the, not talking about a quarter of the dinar. Talk about a quarter of the shekel. A quarter of the shekel, that's half a dinar. Roiva refers to not quarter, but it's supposed to be a coin. The coin which is called a quarter, like we have by dollars, a quarter. Why we're connecting the dinar to the shekel? Why we're saying that the dinar can be used until a quarter of a shekel. Sometimes a dinar will come from a shekel. What does that mean? If a shekel loses its value, the shekel can lose its value and become a dinar. Similar to what we said before, that a seller can lose its value and become a shekel. Which means when the coin loses value, it becomes a lower coin. So also a dinar is the same thing. Right? Look at Rashi. Rashi says, the shekel becomes, you can have a shekel turn into a dinar, and now you're treating it as a dinar. From here on, it used to be a shekel, became a dinar, now it's a dinar, how much can you lose? Dinar costs from a shekel, you can use it, it's 50% of the original value, and you can still use it as a dinar. But if it comes from a seller, which means it's a quarter of the seller, now you can't use it for too much of a lower value. Rashi explains why, because this doesn't really apply to our coins. But in those days, when you had a large coin that lost its value, it got the value of the lower coin. But it still wasn't the same width of the lower coin. So therefore, once you lose too much value, people will start cheating with it. And that's so you can use up to 50% of the value and not more. So the word kind of Isser also. If you went lower than value, you're not allowed to use it. Michael, what does it mean, Isser? How about it called? If the seller went below Isser, full Isser, also, then you're not allowed to use it. What do you mean Isser? Meaning, the more understands, according to Shittas Rashi, talking about you can use a seller, even if it loses value, up to a you can use the full value. Now the Gemara says if you lost more, you can still use it as seller. Why can you still use it as seller? You can't use it anymore as a seller. Once it lowered the value and you reached the value of so now you can use it for the full amount. If the seller went down one Isser, which means it went down 1 out of 24, that's already the Shir Reina. Not an additional to the Shtus in Isser. That is the Shtus. That is the The Shtus according to one mandama, according to this mandama is 1 out of 24. The seller became unusable and he decided to use it as a scale, for the scale. To me, it's a tameh midim, the fact that it's becoming now, that's not anymore coin, it's a kli, it's a vessel. A vessel becomes tameh. How much there's a lose to the value, you can still keep it. Lesela shnei dinar, meaning 50%, because each seller has 4 dinar. So if it went down by 50%, it's fine, as we saw before. If it lowers more than that, you have to cut it up. What happens if it did not go down lower? Meaning it's more than the value of 2 dinar. It's 2 dinar plus. What's the case there? We said if it's went down 50%, so you can use it. More than 50%, you can't. What happens if it's less than 50%? And more and less than 50%, but more than I know, according to Shita Rashi. Yes, so it can yikuts. In both cases, you can use it when it's 50% of its value. Why? Because then the seller turns to be a shekel. But if it's between the shekel and the seller, or less than a shekel, in both cases, you don't have the right value, and people will cheat with it. If it's less, you have to cut it up. If it's more than that, you could use it. People will know that it's not a seller, because it's nikar, so there's Rashi, and it's fine, you can use it for more. Says the Gemara, you have a question. For base on base. Yes, I can moicho bishovio. It says that if it's more, you can sell it for the full value, right? So it's for the current value, of what it is. That's what we saw before in the price. My love now we're not talking about that it was more than meaning it did not get to 50%, but it went more than 1 out of 24, 1 out of 12, 1 out of 6. So well, look, what it means is, according to Rashi Pshat, one says, no, what we're talking about is, if it did not reach Eino, you can sell it not for the new value, as we said before. you can sell it for the original value. A seller, until you reach the size of it did not reach you sell for the full value, it's still over l'seichel. Metzia is more. I have a question. How much could it lose its value? You want to keep it. But sell that shekel. That's what you saw before, until it gets to 50%. My love, the pochas put to portos. So what does it mean? It slowly lost value until it reached the seller. Until then, you can keep it. Until it reached a shekel, until you can keep it. No, you're right. Talk about that it fell to the fire and it lost value in one shot. If it slowly loses value, up to you can keep it. More than you can't keep it. According to this Bava, because people are going to cheat with it. Allah says that more learn you cut it up and you put it on the neck of your son or your daughter. You mean ask a question. You don't make it a scale. You don't use it as a scale. Don't throw it into the shredded metal. Don't make a hole into it and put it on the neck of your son or daughter. Yishlik means you rub it off, or you grind it, or you put it you put it back into the fire, put it into the metal, or you cut it into half, or you throw it into the Dead Sea. I mean, you can keep it even with a hole. And we said before you could keep it for a hole. Depends where you make the hole. If you make the hole in the middle, it's fine. It's very clear that the hole was made to show this coin is not a good coin. If you made the hole on the side, someone may rub the hole and ignore the hole and say, no, this is just a normal way for the coin to lose value. So it comes out, according to this, according to Rashi's understanding, if it lowered until you know, so then until you know, you could keep it and use it for the full value. If it lowered to 50%, you use it for the lower coin. Anything in between, machlekes. Machlekes, can you keep it for the actual value that it is right now, or you have to throw it away? To when can you give it back? So in the big cities, until you show it to the banker, and in the small villages, until Erev Shabbos. By talis, we're saying go short to an expert. That it's a short amount of time. We didn't differentiate between big cities and small cities. By money, we didn't differentiate. What's the difference? The truth is also talis talks about only in the big cities. Small cities, you have more time. Clothing, everybody knows what the value of the clothing is. You'll find the expert in town. But money, not everybody knows what it is. Only the banker. In the big cities, you have bankers until you show to the shulchani. But the small villages, you don't have a shulchani. Until Erev Shabbos, the people go to the big market, and there you find the money exchanger, or we call a banker. So if you recognize it until after 12 months, you give it back. Hey, what are you talking about? We're talking about the big cities. How am I that he says you have to show it to the banker. So you said till Erev Shabbos. How do you get it 12 months? Talk about the person the seller, the one who gave it out. He wants to do means chasidus, he will accept it after 12 months. So go to the next part. The only thing you can do is be upset at him. Who should be upset at who? The chassid should be upset on the person who's giving it back. He should accept it. He won't have nothing to be upset about. And we're talking about to the person who the chassid agreed to accept back the money. After he accepts it, now he's upset. What is he upset? The chassid did something he was not supposed to do. Not a chassid. The chassid accepted it, it's a beautiful thing. But someone says, I don't want to be a chassid. I'm a regular guy. And after the time of showing to the shulchani or the kfarim, they bring Erev Shabbos, I don't want to accept it. So then, you can only, there's no thing, you can be upset at him, you can't go to Beis Din, because Rabbanan said, this is the time you can give it back, more than that you can't give it back. So then, you can redeem it by Sheni, and because someone doesn't use it, it's a nefesh, it's a bad nefesh. Someone is so careful, stingy about money. Because it'll be a nefesh rot. It's a bad mido to say, I want to have the exact coin. To mention that the Guraya brings that Ephraim, when he changed the money for Avraham Avinu, he wanted big money. It says the Guraya, Ephraim without a vav, is Gematria Ayin Ra. Maral means the Ayin Ra and nefesh rot come together. Someone's so careful, he's so stingy, it's a bad thing. So it's only if you can actually use the money. You can use the money for the full value, but he doesn't want to. He wants to exchange it, you have to do the value. You want to do chilu, you do beyof. Michael, what is it we say? Even though when you want to go and use it in the market, you have to use it for the value. Why for the value? Because the one who you want to buy money from, first wants to use the Ma'aseh Sheni to buy an animal. The one who's selling the animal doesn't want to use a bad coin, so you have to use it for the actual value of that coin. You can then use it, the full value of the coin, because the Ma'aseh Sheni doesn't care, so you can do it for the full value. You want to tell me that we are treating Ma'aseh Sheni as such zilzul, which means we're bringing it to the exact amount. If you have Ma'aseh Sheni, it doesn't worth a pruta. What are you going to do? You can't be putting the Ma'aseh Sheni without a pruta. You go and you redeem it on the original money. Because usually when you redeem Ma'aseh Sheni, you don't do the exact amount. You always give a little extra. Says the Gemara, the trey zili lubin says a lim bay. So says the Gemara now, according to Rashi, what changes the whole thing? What does it mean with teres yafa? Meaning you, says Rashi, meaning you can use a bad coin, but you're not going to use the full value. Then you're going to use only the value that it's oivel. So the way the Rishonim explain, when you have a bad coin, you could use it, but it's not so easy. It's not so easy to go and use it in the market. Many merchants will not accept the full value. They'll accept it as a lower value. So beginning to go in the store, when you put the Ma'aseh Sheni, I can use the full value of the coin. Comes the Gemara and says no. And the Maskana is you can use a bad coin, but you have to use the actual value that's easy to go and exchange it for it. And the Rishonim have many different shaftim to explain this. Just mention what. So according to Rashi, the Gemara changed. The Gemara said that I can use it for Ma'aseh Sheni. I can use the coin for the full value. So the Gemara, no. I can use the Ma'aseh Sheni bad coin, but only for the current value. Taisus brings one of the shittas of the Rishonim of Taisus that it says that the Gemara always do use it for a lower value, but in the lower value there's two levels. There's the full value of the seller that we're never having to use that. Then you have the value that you can use, which is exchangeable but not so easy. And then you have the stingy value, which gives you less than what's possible to exchange it. The Gemara says the nefesh yafa doesn't go and is makbid so much to do it on the low stingy value. You do the middle value, which is easy to exchange, not the full value, the middle value. And that's the most common thing about according to Taisus. Right? In other words, that was the half of the Gemara. Meaning, according to Rashi, there's two values: full value or lower value. Taisus says no, there's three values. Full value which is now exchangeable but not best, and then there's the stingy value. You exchange Ma'aseh Sheni for that minimal value. We said, we'll stop over here, continue the sugya Ma'aseh Sheni in the next half.